Hi, everybody. This is Carol. This is week 4, and we're talking about assessment. My content area would be literature, so it would be short story or novels for the freshman or sophomore college student. That would encompass composition as well. So, what type of tool or application would I be using as my assessment? After reading the academic article that summarized the research, I'm going to read this title: Student Assessment in Online Learning, Challenges and Effective Practices. The one word that struck me the most was scaffolding. Uh, to me, this was like the most appropriate way to structure learning and teaching, and particularly for this uh, level and age of student, because it seems to me as though as teachers, if we build and build and build to this giant end of course project that would be a grade killer, that we are setting our students up to fail. So, of course, in my classroom, I will have written assignments and I will have research projects, but I think that what I want to discuss is using assessments that would be weekly assessments that I think would be important to this scaffolding idea, where I would build a framework and I would allow myself and the student to reinforce not only the learning, but also to reinforce their grade along the way if they're not doing well, to kind of build it back up as they go along. So I would use 2 formative assessments every week. They would be the mainstays. They would be an objective quiz and the threaded discussion forums like we use in our MLA classes. Of course, the objective quiz would just be to quiz content, and the threaded discussion would be for analytical and critical thinking. Um, I think that freshmen and sophomores in college need that objective quiz to maybe quiz them over plot. Let's say I assign a novel. This would just kind of keep them on track for reading, a quick check to see that they're reading. And it would also keep them on track with their time management, which I certainly have seen in my own kids over the years, and also when I taught high school. They sort of need those milestone things to keep them on track. The discussion forum, though, will encourage them to think more deeply and to add some discussion. It'll also allow them to apply those MLA guidelines that are important to their college writing, and it'll give me, as their teacher, an idea of their writing skills. And also how they're understanding the concepts in the course, so that as we go farther into the course, I'll know whether they're getting the ideas like theme, for instance, the concepts in the course, and also what their writing abilities are as they are progressing, to see how they're going to do on some of those bigger writing assignments. The research that we read in that article showed that this online discussion was used by most of the courses. It was not as high as writing assignments, but I think that it was second, as I recall, and it also was weighted heavily in the overall grade. I think they gave 32% of the weighted grade on average in the courses. So I think that this is important because it gives that emphasis on class participation, that the student knows that the teacher in an online course wants the student to be there, to be present, and it doesn't allow the student to fall through the cracks. It also keeps the teacher engaged with the students and helps us to monitor their progress. And in the case of future written assignments, as I said, it helps us to know what their abilities are. And one thing that wasn't mentioned, but I do think that would be helpful as a tool for us as teachers, is that it allows us to sort of hear their voice as a writer, so that we know that when they get into writing those bigger assignments where they're turning in 3 and 4 and 10-page assignments possibly, that their writing is their voice and not the voice of someone else. So it might help to deter in cheating as well. The other thing that I might do, which is I'm not, is just a thought, would be to do a sort of summative poll at the end of every week, which would be a freebie for the students. And what it would do would be to allow the students to voice their opinion on what we've just done during the week, even the content. Did they like the novel? Did they like the coursework or whatever? I think this is allowing the students to give feedback, which they said was important in all of the literature that we read. And I would do it as a freebie. It would be, if you take the poll, you get some extra points. And I think that allows me to make the course better. And it also, as I said, it gives the students the idea that I value their opinion. And if it's something that I can do to improve the course, even if it's just a small tweak, I might be able to do it within the framework of the course right away. So I think that that's something that might be sort of fun to do, actually. So how do you plan to make the objectives for this assessment clear to your students? I would put the objectives right in the learning outcomes. So for the quiz, my learning outcome would be students will be able to identify the plot details in literary works covered. For the discussion forum, there would be two. The first one would be students will analyze and synthesize course concepts through discussion and writing. And also, students will write college level writing that follows MLA format. What type of tool will you use to ensure that you are consistent in grading your assessment? So for the quiz, I would use a rubric. I think it will be posted in the syllabus and students understand quizzes. They've been doing them forever and they know that they're going to get the score that pops up on the screen. Since it's a computer generated quiz, it'll pop up instantly. Now for the discussion forum, I would use a rubric that would be in the syllabus, and I would also give written guidelines in the syllabus, but I would also put the written guidelines on every assignment page for every discussion forum each week so that there's no disconnect, that they would know that every week this is the expectation. The checklist on that page would include, for the initial post, it would be the date that it's due, the length of the post, the fact that there's only one initial post due, and the style elements that would be required, which would include examples from the work that's read to support the student's idea. That would include one quote with an in-text citation and the MLA citation at the bottom of the post. The response posts would also be there, and it would be the date due, the length of the response post, which would be shorter, and then the number of response posts, also the style elements, which would not be quite as strict, but should indicate that I would want the students to be furthering the discussion, that they shouldn't just be making comments like good job, or I agree, as we all say. We've read that in all of our MLA stuff too, that they are welcome to say that, but they won't be received for credit. The idea is that we want to encourage that conversation, as we all know, and so we want to teach our students to do that. So that would be the point there. As far as that freebie poll that I would be doing, that opinion poll, I would just write a simple paragraph in the syllabus, and I think they would probably figure that out pretty quickly, frankly. I don't think that would take too much added information. What type of feedback will you be providing to the student? The quiz would provide instant feedback. It would be graded instantly, and it would be posted instantly on their grade sheet. As far as the discussion forum, I plan on being present in the discussion forum, making short comments throughout. I'll also try to grade in a timely manner and post that on the student's grade sheet so that they can see their progress. And, I sort of see that as the scaffolding thing again, that they'll see how they're doing, whether or not they're meeting the requirements. And if they're not, they need to get on board quickly. Also, if they're really not doing well, then of course I would, shoot them an email or encourage them to contact me. And of course, a conscientious student would do that, and maybe somebody who's not as conscientious might take a further nudge. I might leave a note on the grade page, but I probably would save that for longer assignments. The poll is going to be a computer-generated poll again, but I would leave a summary of that in the news forum. Okay, the final question is, what would you do if the student fails the assessment, and do you have opportunities for the student to retake an assessment? The quiz is designed so that there would be 2 attempts. It is an open book, 2-hour deal, 15 questions. It is truly would be designed to help the students grade. They would be encouraged to retake if they don't do well, but not to retake until they're prepared. I would say that it'll be a low percentage of their overall grade, and basically it's just going to be a good indication to the student and the teacher whether or not the student is doing the coursework, and probably if we're reading a 300-page novel and there are 15 questions, they're going to be pretty general. And if the student just reads the book, they're going to do pretty well on it. So it's really just to kind of say, read the book. The other thing is on that discussion forum, what would I do about that? And that is a little trickier, but this is what I would do. I would try and grade them quickly so that they would understand what their grade is. And then if it's the quality of writing or content, I would encourage them to set up an office hours with me. If there's a school writing lab, I would encourage them to get help there. I would not, if it's a problem with them not reading the book, then again, I would encourage them to read the book for the facts. But I would not allow them to redo the discussion forum because there are many of them throughout the course. I think that they have a lot of opportunities to make up, do better on the other ones, and one low grade will not hurt them. I also think that that creates a grading problem for me, and so I wouldn't do that. I also might consider a drop grade depending upon how it goes. I would have to try that, I guess, doing the teaching. Finally, I think that they would have an opportunity for some extra credit points with that poll. So once they do that, that may sort of even out some low grades. So that is how I think I would do it in my class. I'll be interested to see how you all will do it in your classes.